So I was just minding my business, watching YouTube, as I normally do, until I was informed about a certain incident that I honestly wish I didn't even know about. It was first introduced to me by a YouTuber named 1perXP. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to say her channel name, bro, I'm sorry. But his video popped up in my recommended tab. And I actually seen his videos pop up before. He often talks about certain people doing cringy stuff on TikTok and Insta and stuff like that. A lot of the times the strange ways that people will promote their OF. Now normally I don't like to talk about things just because they're cringe or make fun of people because of the way that they do things on the internet, because I feel like it's not that much of a threat. I just avoid the cringe content. And of course, while I have my own personal criticisms and feelings of things like OF, at the end of the day, they're all grown, consenting adults who are choosing to do this. So I ended up turning a blind eye to a lot of these videos. But then I seen something else pop up when speaking about these OF creators. Something about a minor. And now I have been summoned. So a thing has been happening recently with the Bop House. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Bop House is, let me inform you. According to Google, the BOP, Bureau of Prisons, operates residential re-entry centers, also known as halfway houses, to help inmates transition back into society. So this is the answer that AI Google gave me, and it's the funniest thing that they have a picture of the Bop House residents and users up there on the side, as if that's what they are, which I think is very appropriate because what we're about to talk about should have them in prison. It just goes to show you can't trust everything the Google AI gives you, which they say is experimental, but I'm just saying, be careful when you get the answers from the Google AI. But actually, the Bop House is a content creator house made by and for OF creators. It's basically like the Hype House, except rated R. And if you don't know what a BOP stands for, don't worry, Google AI can help us with that as well. The definition states, BOP may refer to the Bureau of Prisons. It may also refer to the word bop, which can mean new, wonderful, or wildly exciting. Yeah, so a bop has several different definitions, clearly. But one that I've seen keep coming up in articles was baddie on point. But with the way that it's being used, to me, it definitely seems like it's just another word to insult women like slut or basically a woman who sleeps around. But I suppose women are trying to reclaim phrases that are adjacent to those words. I guess I don't really know, okay? So it was originally created by Sophie Rain, who was kind of like the ringleader of the group. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really care to learn too much about the individual creators, okay? I've heard of the Bop House before, and like I said, I have my criticisms and thought processes, but at the end of the day, even if I'm not a fan of it, they're all consenting adults, so it doesn't matter, and I truly don't care. But the problem is when a non-consenting child enters the picture. Piper Raquel, a 17-year-old influencer who has been allegedly previously exploited by her mom, has eased her way over with the Bop House creators. And now she makes content with the Bop House members. Now here's the thing, right? The content itself isn't really the biggest problem. Although some of the videos they make are a little bit questionable, that's not even the biggest issue here. At the end of the day, these women have their own personal work lives, right? And that doesn't have to mix with their personal life. So it's not like they just can't be around kids just because they do work or whatever. The idea is that you just keep that to yourself because that's your personal business, keep it away from the kids, and whatever, like that's fine. You don't mix your adult content work with your personal life, especially not when there are kids around. In my head, the logic is like, you have these big celebrities like Katy Perry, for example, and of course she makes a lot of explicit songs, but there are a lot of little girls who love her music and love her, and maybe they want to meet her and take a picture with her or something like that. And you just keep the explicit stuff away from the kid, and you just as a person comes to them, takes the picture, and moves on, right? That's kind of where my mind is going. So it's like, it's not so much the issue that they're just around a minor, you're not exposing them to things that they should not be exposed to at a young age, right? But that's not exactly what's happening. Not only are they making content with her, having her in their personal houses, and also I believe in the Bop House as well, but there's also this constant insinuation that she's going to join when she's old enough. And that's a little strange. They're actively blending their adult content life with her, knowing very well what their jobs are and who will most likely be following them. Inviting this young girl to a place where you make a certain type of specific adult content with a specific type of followers and exposing her to that audience and lifestyle when she can't consent to it, that's just not right. Like, she's still a minor. She's not legal. She isn't of age. Because again, it is also kind of setting it up and paving the way for her to join the house when she is of age, when she's still a minor. Sure, they claim they're all just jokes and stuff, but at the end of the day, keeping her in an environment where she's basically being coerced into joining you guys and living the lifestyle that you guys are living before she's legally old enough to make that choice doesn't seem right. Because the minute she turns 18, she probably will end up joining the Bop House and will end up making OF content. And last time I checked, that's like kind of textbook definition of grooming. You're creating a relationship with a child as an adult that surrounds your work as an adult content maker. The power dynamic is dangerous because at the end of the day, you're an adult that has this huge influence on this minor who looks up to you. And I feel like this is common sense. And luckily, a lot of other people also feel like it's common sense. So that's good. But there's a lot of other people who don't seem to feel this way. The biggest part about this is not even the fact that it's happening. Child exploitation happens all the time. But it's more so the fact that there is a lot of people trying to defend it, being completely ignorant to how irresponsible and frankly unhealthy this is. One of the biggest and most common comments being, she's about to turn 18, guys. It's not that big of a deal. Wow. Okay. As if that's not the same exact excuse that predators will try to use when they want to prey on minors and get away with it. Oh, but officer, she's about to be 18. I mean, it's really not that big of a difference, right? Yeah, okay, Sneeko.
Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
Why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
Almost 18 doesn't count. She's still legally a minor. She legally cannot consent. So insinuating that she's going to join the bop house is weird. And for any other situation, y'all will be so ready to defend that. But for some reason now, suddenly it's, oh, well, she's about to be 18, guys, so it's okay. Like, huh? Any other time, you will be so against that. Any other time, you will clock that when you see it. Legally, she is not old enough to be in that environment, nor to make the decision to make that type of content yet. But the thing is, the really disturbing thing, she might already be making content similar to that. So I ended up running into this comment that said there's a link in her bio on TikTok that's selling pictures of herself in a bikini. So of course I had to see if this was true. So I went to her bio, I clicked on her like links page or whatever, and it brings up a page where basically it's a collection of all of her content, her YouTube videos, her music, etc. Then I found a button on the left side that says join. So I clicked, and there seems to be tiers of a subscription service to see more of Piper. And the main picture at the top is a picture of Piper in a bikini posing in an unsettling way. Now, I can't say for sure what these subscriptions entail because I'm not about to pay $10 to find out. But all I'm saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if the content is borderlining OF style content, because unfortunately she's been being exploited since she was young. So Piper's entire situation is pretty messed up overall, and her history of being exploited by her mother plays a huge part in it, which is why I feel like this whole entire situation is worse, because she's just being handed from one group of exploiters to another. But the problem is she doesn't feel that way. Everyone in the comments is like, oh, well, if it makes her happy, then whatever, like it's not that big of a deal. Just think about it for a second. From a child, from a very young age, she has been exploited by her mother, constantly being told that she needs to do certain things and act in certain ways on camera in order to make her mother happy. And then she's been exposed to that her entire life. At that point, can you really call it an actual choice? If your entire family is pressuring you to be a doctor from a very young age, telling you that it's a family tradition, so you must do it, you got to do it for the family, you got to make money for the family, and you end up becoming a doctor. And sure, maybe you enjoy it or you don't mind doing it, but how much of it was truly a choice if this is what you were being told that you need to do your entire life? Sure, Piper may enjoy it, but it's most likely because this is what she was forced to grow up with her whole life. And now maybe it just feels like she's reclaiming some power back because she's choosing how she does it. Although this may not be completely true either, because she is still technically a minor, and a lot of her social media and platform pages say that they are run by her family. It just seems like she's stuck in this over-sexualized life and she doesn't have an outlet to escape because she's been there for so long. Which reminds me of another comment that I've seen a lot of people make, saying stuff like, guys, she can't stay a kid forever. She's growing, she's, older now. She's not a little girl anymore. So the next step from childhood to adulthood is just to immediately collaborate with OF content makers. Why is it that specifically for women, growing up equals being overtly sexual? I feel like that is a very misleading and frankly exaggerated representation of what adulthood actually is. JoJo Siwa is a perfect example of taking this exaggeration to literal. The minute she became this no longer kid-friendly music artist, which is fine, she has all right to do that and change her style or whatever, that's perfectly fine. But the minute she announced that, she ended up creating this really super sexualized rebrand of herself that just doesn't seem authentic at all. And everybody felt the same way. Everyone's looking at this like this doesn't even seem like it's natural, you know, like this didn't come naturally for her. And when you think about it, it's like, well, of course, because the media and literally everybody else is telling her that this is what adulthood is. So of course, this is what she's going to interpret it as. And sure, like if you're a grown woman, of course, you can express yourself however you want. I just find it a little disturbing that whenever a child star becomes an adult star, specifically women, again, a lot of the time, this is what ends up happening. They just have this very over-sexualized version of themselves. And I wonder if that's pressure from the industry or whatever it is. That could be a whole conversation in itself. But speaking of the media and music videos, another instance of having a child in an inappropriate environment is Ice Spice's Deli. So Ice Spice, the popular rapper who talks about poop all the time for some odd reason, made a music video called Deli and had a 16-year-old, or at the time she was 16, twerking on the counter in the music video. And if you listen to the lyrics of the song, you'll know immediately that this is just not a song that kids should be bopping their heads to. Like, it's not even subtle innuendo or jokes that fly over their head. No, it's very explicit, very vulgar. You got kids in the MV getting sturdy to Ice talking about being eat out. And as if that wasn't already strange enough, now you have a minor in a room full of adults twerking on a table. And once again, I don't want to hear, oh, it's not a big deal. She's 16. She's about to be an adult, guys. It's not that big of a deal. Listen, y'all are getting lower and lower with these ages, and it's disturbing, okay? I'm not trying to hear it. She's still a minor in a very explicit music video in a room full of adults also dancing and speaking very vulgar and explicitly. You could have chosen any adult to do this, but you brought in a child, and yet people will still defend this because they're celebrities and they idolize them and they can't do any wrong. And this isn't me trying to hate on celebrities either, but I'm just saying there is a general rule where if you have a lot of money and a lot of fame, you get a pass for a lot of stuff. But there's also another reason why they get a pass. Specifically in these instances, when it comes to the exploitation of kids, the reason why no one bats an eye when it happens is because it's women who are doing it. Look, I'm just gonna say it because I think it needs to be said, okay? I'm just gonna say it. Women tend to get away with a lot of stuff when it comes to things like predatory behavior and child exploitation simply because they are women. I'm sorry. Look, somebody had to say it, all right? I'm sorry. Look, I know it's National Women's Month. It's okay. I know, but it had to be said. Look, I'm just speaking facts, okay? Like when stuff like this happens and a woman does it, it doesn't get nearly as much traction and attention as if, say, a man did it. Because for some reason, people don't see it as a threat if a woman does it. But if a dude tried to pull this stunt, the internet would be quick to cancel him, as they should. And people will constantly get annoyed whenever you switch the roles and point that out. But the fact of the matter is, some of y'all don't see a problem with something being done unless a man does it first. Like, sure, men commit a lot of the crimes, okay? There's statistics to back that up. We understand that. But if we're being realistic, when it comes to things like child exploitation, especially of young girls, we're seeing women often be the perpetrators of this, specifically mothers. Think back to beauty pageants. You didn't see fathers bringing in their little girls, or their sons for that matter, dressing them up and having them compete, did you? The mothers are usually the ones putting Botox in their daughters' faces and dressing them up like strippers in order to catwalk in front of a bunch of adults. And then they hide it under the guise of, oh, but she really loves it. She loves doing this. She loves this environment. Or I'm just teaching her to love herself and express herself. And now with the internet, like I expressed in another video, you don't need in-person beauty pageants anymore because the whole world is now your beauty pageant. How many mothers do we hear about exploiting their kids on the internet, using them for views and money and exposing them to the many dangers of the internet? But again, just because these women have millions of followers and they're doing it to girls who are basically almost legal, even though they are minors still the same, y'all defend them. And what's worse are the amount of girls who will straight up gaslight you, make it seem like you're the one in the wrong for trying to call certain women out. They'll pull the, oh, you're not a girl's girl card, or the pick me card. They love to use that one. I don't know if you guys realize this, but women can be horrible people, and they can do messed up things. Being a girl's girl or supporting women doesn't mean you blindly bow down to every single thing a woman does. It means you support women through their struggles, celebrate their triumphs that not only help them, but just women as a whole, and also call out the women who try to hurt and belittle other people and exploit our young girls. Don't let other women try to guilt trip you into thinking you're some anti-feminist or that you don't support women just because you call certain things out. Because the fact is, it doesn't matter what you are. If something's wrong, it's wrong. I don't care if you a he, him, a she, her, a they, them, a ze, some, zer. I don't care. I'm gonna clock it every time. It's 2025. You can be whatever you want to be. That doesn't mean you get a pass, because you are now hurting our future women, our future girls who are soon to be legal, and now this is the type of stuff that they have to go through. But just to show that it isn't only women doing it, another instance of a child being exploited in an inappropriate environment is a little boy being put on a dating show to hit on 30-year-old women.
Hello, my name is Sheikah. 360. 360? You want it fast or slow? the 360.
Slow.
So Lil RT is a little boy who raps about incredibly horrible stuff that what is he, like 10, 11-year-old should be rapping about? I only found him because of the YouTuber August the Duck. He talked about this little boy as well as other children who are just unfortunate victims of this absolute nonsense. But some guy took the pop the balloon dating challenge thing as if it wasn't dreadful enough and brought kids into it. Having this little boy tell grown women to do a 360 so he can check them out, talking about a woman's butt as she turns around and walks away, and bullying all the other kids that come in the room with these women. And once again, all these adults around, and no one stepped back for a second and went like, yeah, something about this just don't seem right. On top of this kid's demeanor, the way he talks to people, and the way he raps in his music, it's very clear that he's simply absorbing everything in his environment. He's absorbing all the behaviors of the adults around him, and he's simply looking up after them and doing what they do. Which is why whenever I talk about these types of things, I always have to remind myself I can't get mad at the kids. It's not the kids' fault. They're only being exploited. These kids are being used by the adults in their lives, the adults they trust, whether it be their parents or a celebrity they look up to. They like being around people who are older than them and makes them feel cool that they do what the adults do. If you ever grew up with older siblings and they had people like their friends and their people who they like to talk to, a lot of us would gravitate toward them, like want to just stick next to them and be with their group of older, cool friends. You want to do the things that they do and stick around them because they're grown up. That's literally what's happening. These kids don't see it as grooming or exploitation because they want to be just like the grown-ups. So of course they're not going to take criticisms of other people talking about this seriously. Of course they're just going to see it as, oh, you guys are just hating, you guys are just jealous that I make more money than you, or you're just jealous because I got to meet this celebrity or whatever. They don't see anything wrong because they're too busy enjoying themselves doing what all the cool adults do. Going back to Piper, there were a lot of comments who was expressing their disdain and dislike for Piper and being like, oh, she thinks she all that because she's getting all this attention. They don't like that, she's not listening to other people. She's making fun of people for expressing how this is very weird. And maybe I'm cutting her too much slack. Maybe I am. But like I said, it's very difficult for me to get mad at her and blame her for what's going on. At the end of the day, she was taught from a very young age that this is what sells. This is what does well. And like I said before, there could be a lot of this that's simply orchestrated by her mother or her family or whatever. All I'm saying is that the adults in these children's lives are the problem. They're the reason why this happened. When children are being exploited, it's difficult for them to see that that's what's happening because once again, they've gained this bond and this trust with whoever the adult who is exploiting them is. And they are constantly being validated, not only with words of encouragement by the adults, but with money, but with fame, but with views. So when things like this happen, we as an audience just have to be very vocal about trying to stop this from being normalized, which again is what a lot of people are doing. But there's still so many people who try their best to be unproblematic and nonchalant about the whole entire thing. A lot of these people, might I add, are kids a lot of the time. I remember going in the comments and seeing this one girl trying to defend the situation. I got curious and clicked on her bio. She's 17. Well, of course she's gonna defend this. They want to have the cool adult life that adults have too. People will just spam the "it's not that deep" mantra just so they don't seem like they're ruining the fun. And this happens a lot when it comes to children and what's appropriate for them. Like in my video talking about the kid-friendly content thing. Sure, there were some things that I feel like could be argued with the age ratings and the cursing in movies and stuff like that. I still stand by what I said, but I read a lot of the arguments and it's like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I understand that there's some gray area here and there, and I understand if you can make certain criticism. But this is something that shouldn't be controversial. This is something that shouldn't be talked about and argued about as if we don't know what the clear answer is. It should be common sense not to do. You don't bring minors into explicit and vulgar environments and situations. It is unhealthy. It is illegal, probably in different places. It is unhealthy. It is wrong. It is dangerous for the child. And there simply isn't any reason to put them in that type of environment. And even if some of these adults are just too innocent and naive to understand what's truly wrong, ignorance is not a defense. You have to understand the danger that this is putting these kids in, how it's messing up psychologically the way that they view themselves, the way they view the world. Just let kids, be in their kid environment, let them have the time to grow up instead of coercing them into doing these things that they're not even ready for. Again, should be common sense. But that's all I want to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.